Welcome, comrades, to the program all about cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center. We're located at 867 Church Street in north end of New Bedford. We're just off exit 5 off of Route 140. Very easy to get to, not a traffic light or a stop sign. I run the business with my son Andrew. He's in the showroom right now. If you're out and about, you're about to get ready, I hate to say this, fall's not too far away. We're at midpoint, I guess we'd have to say, summer-wise. The last couple of mornings have been a little crisp, a little fallish. This morning was a little more humid, but yesterday evening was a little chilly, more fallish. It's warm out there now. Feels very tropical with the humidity. But he's there at the dealership. If you're out and about looking for a car, get ready for fall, school, work, what have you. Good time to start shopping, create a relationship. Compare us to the competition. That's all we ask. All we ask is that you shop us and compare us. We work hard for your business. We're up for election every day. Every hour we're open. We're out there for your vote. You vote with your dollars. I played Al Jolson, Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? I usually play that when taxes are due. Property taxes were due. Beginning of Monday, August 1st. Pay these confiscatory tax rates. They seem to go up 2, 3, 4 times faster than anyone's paychecks in the private sector anyway. So they have to get control of this, because I'll tell you right now, there'll be a revolution if this continues at this rate in the not too distant future. So Al Jolson, Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? Al Jolson was born on May 26, 1886, and he died October 23rd, 1950. Like I said before, we play dead people here. We bring them back from the musical abyss. Well, what's happening about today being August 6th? We have some good news and bad news. Well, the good news is you can hear me. You're still alive. I'm here. I'm still alive to say it. Sunrise, 5:44 this morning. So it's almost 5:45. The sun's coming up. We lost 7 minutes from last Saturday when we last met. Sunset. This is depressing. I have to get it off my chest. I know I'm going to upset you, but I have to just get it off my chest. 7:55. The sun sets before 8 o'clock. Okay? The tide of light is rushing out. It's heading south. We lost 8 minutes in the evening. This week we lost 15 minutes of daylight. It's headed south. So life goes on. You have to get out there and grab it and enjoy it. So sunset will be before 8 o'clock. Very discouraging, to me anyway. It's depressing, frankly. And we've lost, since the first day of summer, June 21st, we've lost 61 minutes of daylight. So over an hour of light is headed south. Okay. High tide has already taken place at 11:04. The tide is going out in ever so many ways. The physical tide is going out for sure. Low tide, so you can get out there and do some quahogging. It'll be at 4:38, so you can bring home some quahogs to your wife. Get your supper ready for tomorrow evening, or maybe tonight. 4:38 will be low tide, so be careful. If you're out in the boat, tide's running out. There'll be less water under you. Okay. Moonrise is taking place. It was at 9:31 this morning. This evening, though, we may be able to see it. The skies stay clear. Moon setting will be at 9:59 this evening, so just before 10 o'clock will be the moon setting. So the new cycle starts. We're in a waxing moon, and just the cycle keeps repeating itself, and so it goes. Okay, we've got a caller here. We'll take this caller, Matt, and get him queued up there. Hi, caller.
So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Larry.
Tell me, Ralph.
Yes, sir.
If we get a taxing president in there, and there's no other way then they have no way to create revenue. Well, then that they're interested in.
I'm sorry. Larry, call me back. I hit the wrong button here. I looked down and I touched the button. What did I do wrong there, Matt? I did it too quick, I guess. But give me a call back and we can start on your program again. That was my fault. I hit the wrong side, I think, right? Yes.
Oh.
Hi. Are you there?
Hi, Ralph.
Hey, how are you? Very good afternoon.
Listen, I called you because you're a person of concern because you've been to Russia and China.
Yeah, well, you got a good
Well,
point
somewhat. I mean, when you call the radio station, how many people have been to Russia and China?
there. Yeah.
You're the only one.
Next will be North Korea, I think. I'm going to try out.
Oh, my God. Ralph, don't you dare. Don't you even think about
If I
it.
don't come back.
Because you won't come back.
Live
gonna
from
go
North
back.
Korea. I can see it now. Live from North Korea. I get arrested. Foreign broadcasting secret conversations about the North Korean people.
No, Ralph, I can guarantee you go over there as a businessman, you're not coming back. I guarantee you that. So don't do it.
Yeah, well.
All right, listen,
Yeah.
my friend, because I admire you
Thank you.
in many aspects of car sales, everything that you do. I admire you very much as far as political situations. I fear. I've been reading the headlines. I've been on my iPad. I've been on the computer. That we're unfortunately doomed for war.
Well,
it's going to happen.
it's a good point you're bringing up. Well, I think no matter who gets in, I'm concerned. Hillary is a neocon, so she's in with that crowd, the kind of Cheney crowd and all that. And you look at her, you look at what's taking place in Benghazi, and we took out Libya and Muammar Gaddafi. You look at what's taking place in Syria, and she's more of a hawk for sure. Probably more of a hawk than her husband was. And
the reason I brought it up, Ralph, is because you visited China.
Mm-hmm.
China's been publishing out of Beijing and all the other major newspapers. They want to take out Australia. And you know what happens if they do that, don't you?
I don't think they want to hurt any kangaroos, do you?
Yeah, they want to hurt their fleet, whatever Collins submarines or destroyers or frigates they send there, they're going to sink them. That's
the American Navy, you mean?
No, I'm talking about the Australian Navy.
The Australian Navy. I mean, they don't have much of a
Navy
compared to the
if you
Chinese.
read about it, Ralph, they're going to go on a spying mission over there. They're going to be sending P-3C Orions and possibly one or two class of Collins class submarines and some of their naval power frigates and destroyers.
We're sending stuff down to them. We're putting a Marine contingent down there because our pivot to the east, as Mr. Obama calls it.
So I don't know, Ralph. I'm looking for you as Fred. You're pretty well up to date on all this. Why do they want to do this? Why all this rhetoric? I mean, we're getting enough from North Korea. We're getting enough from China. We're getting it from from Iran. I mean, why?
Well, you have to be careful. You have to look at history to see kind of what is coming to us in the future. And when I think of China, I look at China. Yeah, they're rising. I mean, we're buying a lot of their stuff, so they can underwrite a lot of their military and internal expansion, highways, bridges, and also guns as well.
All right, let me clarify one thing before I leave you, Ralph. Mm-hmm. Australia is backing this new rule in the South China Sea. And Australia and China are their number one trading partners.
Oh, yeah, Australia is very
So they're not happy about that. And they said, we mean warning, sink their ships. I mean,
where are you reading this? Which site are you on? What are you reading this from?
Right. You know what I'm saying? And then the thing that's skeptical right now, Ralph, to educate you or your hosts that are listening, next month in September, the Russian Navy is going to be conducting military exercises with the Chinese naval powers. So what is that?
Well,
what is that telling you, Ralph?
Well, it's telling that we're not very well liked in certain parts of the world, is what it's telling me. But I have to look. When you look at China, now they're going to rise. I mean, they're rising. They're getting more wealthy. They're not going to be occupied again like they were in the past by the Japanese and the British and the Germans and the Opium Wars. But I look at China. China has not attacked any country in my mind, of what I've read in the last 100 years plus, they've been attacked and occupied.
Right.
So I mean, you look at China. China hasn't been an aggressor. In Africa, they've done a lot of deals, bought a lot of minerals.
No, Ralph, I agree with you.
So
but they're aggressively going after the Spratly Islands around the Philippines, the Vietnam, Taiwanese. They aggressively are going to pursue this.
Yeah, well, they are protecting their interests in that area. It's created problems with the Japanese. They have what they call them, the Salkand Islands. The Japanese have a different name.
Yeah, that's part of them.
The Japanese have. It's the same.
The Hague has committed that as international waters, but they're not saying. We said we disavowed that. We're not paying attention to that.
Now the Philippines, who threw us out of their huge Navy base over there, want us back.
Yep.
They want us back. The Vietnamese, we killed a million Vietnamese. Now they're somewhat friendly towards us. We service all our, a lot of our Navy vessels are serviced there, except for military. All the support vessels are serviced by the bases we built, Cameron Bay and all that. We service a lot of our Navy fleet vehicle, other than military. Warships, they won't work on. But so, I mean, everybody's, resetting themselves here. But I think if we got to be careful how we look at this in our mindset. We don't need a war with China. Now there is some thinking. There's a report, and I'm trying to find as I'm talking to you. I don't know if you're familiar with Rand Corporation. Rand does some serious research.
Yes, very much.
Yeah,
so.
Rand. If I'm trying to find the article, I forget what site it was on, but they did a study. They do a lot of studies for the military.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. They do a lot of precursor work for the military and what if scenarios.
Yes.
And they're doing planning with the Pentagon on a war with China, and that it's best to have a war with China now before 2020, and they get too strong, and they're more of a threat to us. So that's the mentality of these people. But I can't see. I see the same kind of things taking place in China that we saw take place in Nazi Germany in 1933 with the build-up, the military and I don't see them attacking other countries like the Nazis did Poland. So I think we have to be careful.
In hindsight, I agree with you. Yes, absolutely.
Because
but I'm overly concerned right now with them telling I've heard communiques that have gone back and forth with the Russians that we need you there. We want to show a force around the islands. That is what the big thing is out right now. Well, and they want to see if the United States and any other military is going to intimidate them.
Well, we've been doing flights over there. We've been running some warships up there, cruisers near the islands, within the international limits of water, but just to harass them. And they announce in English. You can pull up some of those broadcasts to warn the Americans.
Oh, yeah. I read every day, Ralph.
Yeah, to stay away from that.
Every single day.
But, I mean, I'm just not an advocate for getting people whipped up in their mind. Now, be aware, read like you're doing. By all means, you're staying informed. You're one of the few out there that do, and that's a good thing. But I just don't see how we, the regular people in our country, profit by having our young men and women, go into another war. A war that, look at the numbers here now. I mean, China produces how much more steel than America?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1. I mean, I forgot the stats. I know it's more than 4 to 1.
Oh, it's more than that, Ralph.
Yeah, it's way over that. So, I mean, they're kind of like where we were at the end of World War II as far as their capacity to produce. Now, granted, Australia would have to be probably occupied to get the iron ore to continue making steel. No different than the Japanese did. Think about this, what the Japanese did going into Indonesia for the rubber fields and the oil from Royal Dutch Shell, which the Dutch at the time controlled Indonesia. So, it's
Ralph, I'll end on this note because I knew you have other callers.
Yeah.
Let's hope, and God pray, and God will, that nobody fires the first shot.
Yeah, well, we have what was the incident that took place in Vietnam with the ship that's still in North Korea now? Well, no, not it's it went to Vietnam actually.
Oh yeah.
They
I
it was
forget
all
the name of that
it was
one
all
now.
set up there. The Gulf of Tonkin,
Yeah.
a false flag event, which got us in deeper into Vietnam through Johnson, if you recall that, right?
Yes, I do.
See, a nice thing about
Yes,
having a
I
little
do.
gray hair is you look back in history and you say, these
Ralph,
son of a
Ralph,
bitches,
I'm
they do these
63,
things.
So I do study
Yeah, that's
all
good.
this.
But look at the Gulf of Tonkin that got us into Vietnam.
Yeah.
And we lost
yeah.
55,000 boys, our boys there.
Yeah.
Not to mention we killed 1 million of them. And how many boys came back, mentally injured and physically injured. For what? Now I buy sneakers made in Vietnam and shoes made in Vietnam. You say to yourself, wait a minute, what's going on? So,
Right.
and that was the fight against communism. Communism fell on its own weight of corruption and rot. And you know what? We're heading in the same direction. We don't get our act together. We're going to fall down for.
Well, Ralph, I'll end with this.
All right.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. God willing, nothing explodes, nothing happens, because you know what happens if that first shot is fired. You know that, right?
Yep. All I know is there's 1.3 billion to our 350 million.
Yep.
So
on the Chinese
when you start
side,
doing the numbers here, we have a problem. And I'm not so sure that if you look around the world, look at the last 50 years. Who's been the major aggressor in the world?
Yep.
Think about it.
Oh no! I want you to take one thing in.
No, I know. I hear your concern.
I don't agree about everything that the United States has done, China, Russia. I don't agree. I have disturbances about all of them. But my most concern is now with Russia going to be going with the war games, and Australia says we're sending in spy aircraft, ships, and everything. I'm concerned because I just don't want no shot fired. That's all I care about.
And if there's a shot fired, everybody backs up and takes a breath, and I mean.
Well, let's hope so, Ralph.
Look what happened with our spy. What's that terrible spy planes we had go over Hunan Island, and it tagged their jet fighter clipped wings, and they lost one of their. Remember, they about 8 years. Bush was president, and that was a real close event. And they captured our.
We had a new aircraft. Trying to think of the name now. I ain't in front of my computer.
Yep.
Not the P-3C Orion, but the new jet anti-submarine aircraft. The Chinese buzzed it so close that their pilots called in and said, hey, look, they came so close to us, man. We don't, what do we do?
Yeah, they were throwing each other fingers, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, the Russians did that too with their backfire bombers right off.
With the Russian bear bombers. Yeah, I got pictures of that.
Fly over the North Pole, come right by Cape Cod and Hyannis, and we scramble our jets, and we do it to them. They do it to us. It keeps, it justifies.
Ralph, I'm going to end with this and just say, keep your fingers crossed. Let's hope nothing happens.
We'll be all right. I think we'll be all right. I mean, the world goes on, so we don't need actually, you're touching on a nerve here, because what I'm reading into, the next war it will be a conventional war.
Right.
Unless one side is losing and has the capability to use weapons, and then it could get real ugly. But
Ralph, okay, before I end, what about North Korea? Now, would he decide to do something stupid while this is all taking place?
Think of the North Koreans.
That's my problem.
Think of I know how I look at the North Koreans. I hope they don't hear this recording if I go there to visit, because I'll be thrown in their prison, Camp 14. Read a good book. Read Camp 14. That's
okay.
From
gotcha.
Read that book, or maybe you can find an online audio version. But I look at North Korea like a little chihuahua. You ever walk up to a lady holding a chihuahua in a car, and you walk up to the window, it's like you're being attacked by a Doberman or a German Shepherd.
I agree.
The little chihuahua goes nuts. So I look at North Korea like a little chihuahua on a leash, held by China, and it's kind of like nipping at and barking at Uncle Sam's ankles. And we do the same with Taiwan. We use Taiwan as a knife in the Chinese kidneys, metaphorically speaking, and we send them weapons and arms, and we try to keep them from being absorbed, becoming fully integrated with China, kind of like Hong Kong. Okay, Hong Kong was contractually obligated by the British. They had a 99-year lease. They screwed up on that one. And they moved to see where was Guantanamo. We don't have that kind of. It's like when we leave is when we leave. So but I look at North Korea like a little barking chihuahua, And they use that to, China uses that to kind of put the edge on us, and we use Taiwan to put the edge on China. And it's just a geopolitical game.
Ralph, pleasantries.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for calling. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Oh, God, another war with, I don't know. I think we got to get our country together. We've been all over the world, and, when you think about this now, and I don't want to digress too much, but when you think about our American empire, we have bases all around every continent of the earth. We have bases, and we're on the Russians having one base in Syria. That's why they got concerned when we tried to overthrow Hussein over there, and the Russians got involved because they've had a base there for years, decades, and that's why they came to his defense. I mean, we know he's a murdering SOB. So was Saddam Hussein, and so was Muammar Gaddafi. There was more stability when these people were in power. George Bush screwed that up. Afghanistan, I understand that's where Al Qaeda was, and Osama bin Laden. Okay, you can go in there and try to clean it up a little bit, and that's turned into a real snake pit. And Iraq, what did we go there for? Think about it. It's sad to say. $2 trillion later, and the place is a mess. Okay, and we've messed up a lot with Syria, and Libya we destroyed. I mean, if you look at our foreign policy, it makes you wonder. And these people all educated at the Ivy League schools, the diplomacy schools. They have bachelor's and master's degrees in diplomacy and international relations. And these are the very people now who screwed up this country and screwed up the world, and they want us to put them back in power and use them because they're going to straighten it out for us. You really think so? You really think so? These are the very people now who are telling us that they're going to straighten this all out. And it's you say to yourself, wait a minute. And Trump, I mean, I don't think Trump has any more answers personally. I mean, he certainly does it in his own mind. He'd have to consult with some, frankly, people who are brighter than he is. And that's not a knock against Trump. I mean, no one knows it all, and you have to rely on other people. I mean, if I had cancer, I can't rely on my own way to patch myself up. I have to go to specialists who deal in that, obviously, and get advice from them, obviously. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Ralphie.
Billy.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. How about yourself, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Good man. Good man.
I'm up here in Little Compton, Rhode Island.
Well, you get around, boy. I'll tell you. What's up in Little Compton? A lot of rich people, I know that. But go ahead.
Visiting somebody. That's all.
Oh, okay. You looking at old cars or what?
No, just one of Judy's family.
Okay.
That's all.
That's why I said there's a lot of rich people out there. I didn't know Judy had that kind of money in her family.
Yeah, I'm looking around and there's some nice looking houses here, boy.
Yeah, there is. Next to Tiverton, next to the town you have to drive through to get to Little Compton. Well, you can go through Westport, I guess, and get into Little Compton without going through Tiverton.
Yeah.
But half of Tiverton's for sale. Their property taxes are so bloody high, people can't afford to be there anymore. It's amazing. I talked to some brokers over there, and they tell me that people are getting out, those that can try to get out, because the taxes are just too high.
Well, I got to see you Monday in the afternoon.
Okay. Stop by. I should be there, God willing.
Because I talked to Andrew this morning, and
all right. Okay.
He's gone off, so he said, come see you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be around. Whatever. You can brief me on what you guys are up to, and we'll go from there. But
yeah, that's right. So we'll go from there.
You have fun. Just so you're gonna stop by Gray's Ice Cream over there. Take Judy for an ice cream cone at Gray's Ice Cream. It only cost you.
I can't have ice cream yet, Ralphie.
Oh, you can't?
No, not yet. It's only been a month.
They don't even let you have ice cream, huh? Wow.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
That's un-American. Wow.
I know, but you know how it is, right?
Yeah. Maybe they got low-fat ice cream or something.
I don't know. I don't find that anywhere in the stores lately. You know that?
Yeah, you got to ask for it.
Yeah,
well, it's obvious when you look around, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's good because it'll cost you $10 for 2 ice cream cones. So I don't know how somebody does it with kids. If you got 3, 4 kids, or a guy like Ken Pittman, Ken, you'd have to spend $200 to take your kids for ice cream today, especially if you're going to like Gray's ice cream place like that. I mean,
You
it's,
got to mortgage your house.
yeah, I don't know how, you know, geez, I don't know how you do it with, you know, if you have a few kids to take these kids out and go for nothing fancy, nothing, you know, we're not going crazy here. We're just going for some ice cream, maybe a hot dog and French fries. And it's
Yeah,
now
I
it's
remember you could buy
$100.
ice cream.
It's a big dent to you. You know, you can see the handwriting on the wall. You know, I don't know. We've got to get our act together in this country, and it's going to be painful to get
Yeah,
it
but
back
remember
on
when you
course.
could buy ice cream cone for 10 cents or 15 or
Yeah.
a quarter? You know,
Yeah.
for double scoop.
Well, now, Billy, you're really dating yourself, brother.
It's all right. I don't care. Hey,
No, I
you only
remember
could-
you could buy an ice cream sandwich for 10 cents. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Used to buy them all the time. 10 cents. Popsicles for a nickel. Fudgesicles for a
that's
nickel.
right. The fudgicles. Yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
for a nickel. And an ice cream sandwich was a dime.
There you go.
And a
see?
big ice cream cone was 15 cents. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you want double, I think if you want
Yeah,
double
but-
scoop, you just cost you a little bit more.
But remember what the politicians tell us. Remember what Janet Yellen tells us. Oh, inflation is timid. It's only running at 1.5% or whatever. This
Yeah.
line of dog crap they feed us. And yet you
Yeah.
go to the market and you say, wait a minute, I just spent 100. What the hell? What did I buy? I spent $100. Where did it go? And,
Well, you got one bag in your hand, don't you?
Yeah. Then you wonder why, why people are on food stamps. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean,
I can understand it.
yeah. So, hey, Billy,
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
All right, so you'll be there.
yeah, I'll be
Okay,
around
well-
Monday. I should be in town. Yeah, afternoon for sure.
Well, that's what he said. He said don't go too early because you know how my father is.
Yeah. Well, last Monday I was in Hartford, so
Yeah, right.
I was over there. I was in
Well, that's why I
Hartford.
make
I was
sure.
in Connecticut. I was in the Hartford area. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I wasn't in Hartford, but I was in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's what he said. Come around 1 o'clock, 1:30. He should be awake and up.
Yeah, I'll be
running.
there. Yeah, I'll be up. Yeah. Somebody shakes me. Wake up, old man. I'm alive. Hey.
Hey.
So that's good.
All right, then. Look, I'll catch you Monday then.
All right, Billy. You be safe. Have a good time out there.
And we'll iron
You know what to
stuff
do?
out.
You know what
What?
you do? And you got to think like computer-wise. You're going to have a virtual ice cream cone. It'll be in your mind. Just
Yeah.
make believe you're having a frozen
can-
pudding ice cream. It's like virtual. You can see it. You can almost taste it.
That's what I'm
You
saying. I
can
was
feel
just
it
gonna tell you, I
melting,
can taste
dripping
it,
down
all
your
right.
hand. Just feel it dripping down your hand. Say, wow, I got to finish this quick. It's melting. And then you wipe your hands and it's gone. And say, wow, that was good. That was good.
Yeah, Ralph. Yeah.
So just think virtual. It's all in our mind anyway. Everything's illusion. So just stay positive, brother.
I don't know. You're dogging on me here, Ralph.
No, I'm having a little fun with you, but
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Hey, now you go have an ice cream cone because I know you
Yeah.
love ice cream.
yeah, yeah,
I know.
yeah. Well, I gotta watch my boyish figure. I don't want to get too,
Your boy's figure.
yeah. So,
All right, Ralph. I'll see you Monday
all
afternoon,
right.
huh?
Say hi to Judy. Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye.
All right, thank you. Well, Billy's out and about. That's good. Enjoy the summer. Larry, if you're still out there, give us a ring up. Sorry about the disconnect. We can talk about whatever's on your mind. Get it off your chest. I was reading earlier this morning about an article about gasoline mileage and how they're having a difficult time meeting these new codes that Obama signed in that cars are supposed to get by 2025. By 2025, when you think about it, it's not that far away. It's like, well, in car talk, it's not 9 years, it's 8 years because the 2016 model year is already over. I mean, they're done building 2016s. The last of them, well, most companies are done building them. They were built in July, and they've already cleaned up the machinery and retooled for the 17 models. And the 17 models officially begin, if we go by the old car rules, October 1st starts the beginning of the 2017 model year. And the new cars will start, well, they're already starting to put them together, and some are probably in the showrooms already. But so that means we're talking 8 years away to meet this goal of over 50 miles to the gallon, and they are having some issues. The fleet-wide average right now is around 34 miles per gallon. New cars do get much better gas mileage, there's no doubt about that. And of course, the engines have come down in size. They're using turbos and superchargers, more aluminum, carbon fiber, lighter materials, making cars smaller, right, and lighter. And this is the way. This is the only way. Americans, though, with gasoline being quite inexpensive right now, relatively speaking, have been buying more SUVs, so it's putting more pressure. And this has been traditional since cars have come down in size. People still want a bigger vehicle, have been moving more to the SUVs and the trucks. And see, the marketplace is the marketplace in spite of government regulations, and we have a hard time sometimes understanding this, bureaucrats. But they will regulate, and with some of the things coming up now, there's a big battle going on between environmentalists of all stripes. Some are just want to see less fossil fuels used, and some are concerned about the carbon emissions, although cars now are burning much less fuel and are far cleaner with all the emission devices on the cars. I mean, in my lifetime, it's been a radical transformation, and I'm not against it by any means, I'll be honest with you. Some of the latest technology is getting to be quite daunting to implement it, keep up with it, and have the test equipment necessary to keep these cars running. I mean, yes, your new car will get you much better gas mileage, but it works, the way it operates is such a narrow band of operating properly that when it gets out of whack, you have to take it to service. There's no more driving around for a long time with your E-light on, so to speak. Your car will not run properly. In some cases, will shut down depending on the model, especially trucks if it's polluting. You have no choice. And then all the that mileage you're getting, you're going to pay it all back. You're going to give it all back to get your car fixed. They just don't. They're not as forgiving as the old cars were. They just kept running, and if it wasn't running right, you just got a hammer and whacked it. That didn't work. You just got a bigger hammer and whacked it again, and that usually fixed it. Today, forget about it. With all these computers on board, basically you have a car, you have a computer with wheels on it now that runs an engine and a transmission, and not the other way around. A few years back, cars had some computers that did certain functions. Now, these cars are virtually all managed by computers at almost at every level. And the expertise needed to fix these cars is quite extensive and deep. And a lot of young people aren't going into the trades. And it's creating a problem for service. And this is why it's getting quite expensive. And this is why the labor rates at some of these new car dealers have gone off the charts, because of the cost that they have to incur to train, educate, and buy equipment and tools to keep these new cars on the road. It is quite expensive indeed for the new car dealers, and also for independents like myself. I've been both sides of the street, and I'm not going to tell you it's getting any easier. It's not. Some of the problems we deal with are really daunting, and it's just the way it is. It's and the traders, we should pay better, in my opinion. But it comes at an expense to the people. Anyway, back to the article here. It talks here that if the rules for the model years after 2021 are left in place, when they come up for review in 2018, the mileage standard will increase to about 43 miles per gallon combined for cars and light trucks in 2022, before jumping to about 45 miles per gallon in 2023. The final years of the mandate will see the required mileage average of about 47 miles per gallon by 2024, and finally more than 55 miles per gallon and about 40 miles per gallon in trucks by 2025. Well, that'll be when we'll be in rickshaws, kind of like in India, right? You see those little rickshaws they have, and little two-cylinder engines. I'm being a little bit facetious, but cars will be much smaller and lighter. There is a social cost, though. I mean, they are making these cars smaller and lighter for sure, and using a lot of high-strength steel, so that when you get in an accident, whether something big hits you or you hit something big like a tree or a Jersey barrier, that these cars don't crumble like a Budweiser beer can. And they're trying to make it a bit safer for you. But the bottom line is weight does win. Okay, so if you run into you're driving a little small car, and especially if it's a lower end small car, it doesn't have a lot of high-tech features in it, and you run into a Suburban, weight wins. It's Kind of like being at a Patriots game, hitting a linebacker that weighs 240 pounds and a little guy who weighs 160. It's over if they connect. So physics, the law of physics, still, you can't change that. But anyway, back to the story here. Auto companies that do not meet the higher emission standards will be fined $5.50 for each tenth of a mile per gallon. Their average fuel economy, losing my voice, falls short of the standard for the model year. So that works out to about $55 per mile. This fine that will be put on the car, so I guess for each car they produce. So this ought to add to the cost of cars quite a bit. These are some of the changes coming up and before us. I gotta get something to drink here. Matt, get something chewed. I can take a break here. Okay, we'll be right back.
Your sunny side up, keep it up high, the side that gets blue. If you have 9 sons in a row, start a baseball team, they make money, you know. Keep your funny side up, don't let your laughter come through. Do-do-do, stand up on your legs, be like 2 fried eggs, keep your sunny side up.
Okay, we're back. A few things happening, and my friend Ken texts me here about Jersey barrier. I got to read about that on my text I just got. Click off. The other gentleman called me about the. Oh, these guys want to come back from the musical abyss, and make their voices heard, and I don't blame them. They haven't been heard for a while. We bring them back to life for a few minutes, and they have to go back. Like a seance, a musical seance. The gentleman called me earlier when we were talking about the geopolitical, and he was concerned about China. There's an interesting site you might want to check out. It's called China Military Online. The formal address, I've got it here on my laptop. I'm looking at. I go to the site and read about what's on their minds over there, and I'll give you a Chinese view. And the Chinese view or an Asian view is a different view than a Western view. Obviously, they have their interests. We have ours. Basically, it's ChinaMil.com. ChinaMil.com. M-I-L. Okay? Check it out. Tell me what you think. You can read into it. I'll give you their view. And there's other sites we can get into. I don't want to, get too deep on it here, but you can check it out. and read it. It's an interesting site, gives their view, what they're doing over there. And they have some military advisors on board our ships, and we have some of our military advisors on their ships, and this exchange program to keep communications open. So that's a good thing, I think. I mean, there is a competition. I mean, when you're putting the amount of money we put in our military, hundreds of billions of dollars, to develop new toys and instruments of war, these guys get itchy. It's like when I take my kid when they're little, not little, I don't want to exaggerate this, when they were young men, and take them to the gun store and we buy a gun or a rifle and teach them how to handle firearms. They're excited. They want to shoot that gun. Okay, so when you give all these guys all these new toys, what do they want to do? They want to fly that jet and shoot off those cannons and rockets. Okay, so that's where it becomes problematic. It's okay to have, war games. Okay, it gets deeper than that. We've had very serious war games in the last 50 years of our country, and look where it's gotten us. Okay, yeah, I sort of touched on it, and I didn't finish talking about empire. The American Empire. Usually empires like the Roman Empire, the Roman people benefited from their empire. They bring in riches from the conquered lands, and they bring in slaves that they'd capture, and they'd work in the Roman households, and they bring in these animals, creatures they never saw before from the countries they conquered. And the Roman people, by and large, benefited from the expansion of the Roman Empire. But when you think about our expansion and all our military bases and the wars we fought, have we benefited? Have we benefited? That's the question. Okay, I don't think the American people has benefited. Who's benefited? You have to ask yourself, well, somebody's benefited. Well, yeah, I think these major transnational corporations, companies that profit on war, building war material, banking facilities that profit on financing it, making arrangements. These are the people who've profited. But the average worker, have they profited? No, they got their asses drafted, went to Vietnam. They fought in the wars, or their kids got drafted or enlisted. Now we have a volunteer army because they don't want to upset people now as much. So now, a lot of people, for lack of opportunities in their communities, will enlist. If you're living in Detroit, in the inner city, decaying, what do? The only way out was you enlist. A lot of the new enlistees now are Mexicans, not even citizens. They enlist. No different than the Romans enlisted non-Romans to fight in their escapades in building the Roman Empire. And a lot of the foreigners they brought in were, granted Roman citizenship for fighting for Rome. We're doing the same thing. Okay? So a lot in the military, or a lot of Latinos who are not Americans, who are working their way to be citizens by fighting in our military. So a lot of similarities when you look at history. But we as a people, I mean, can anyone call me and say, well, where we benefited? Now, I guess you could make a case by us having such a heavy presence in Saudi Arabia and the seas around there, and protecting the oil transport of freighters, and allowed oil to come to this country in spite of us having oil all over the place, but we weren't allowed to drill for it. Now shale oil has changed us all around. So, we've been told a bunch of nonsense that we're running out of oil. Yeah, oil's a little maybe tougher to get at. All the easy picking has been taken, the easy wells, the easy oil to reach. So now we have to go a little deeper out, and we have more problems. We saw that with BP. But now shale oil they have coming out of their ears in Canada and the United States, and gas. So, I mean, the resource is there, a little more difficult to get, but nonetheless available. So we don't have to really have all kinds of foreign presence, okay? And actually, we're helping the Chinese out by protecting the passage of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, so that the Iranians don't possibly interfere with it, because the Iranians and the Saudis don't get along too well. You get the Shia and the Sunnis, okay? So you have those differences, tribal. It gets down to tribal. But hey, you know what? 50 years from now, it's not going to matter, as Eddie Medeiros used to say. That's the way it goes. You just listened to before was Keep Your Sunny Side Up. Johnny Hemp, 1929. Maybe he was singing that right after the stock market crash. I don't know. I should look that up. Interesting. Maybe it was. Maybe it was just before. Probably after when he sang that. Keep the sunny side up. But we are in it's a heck of a time to be alive and witness these things taking place in our society. But we're only as strong as our people in our country and the individual, you and I, and how we think. And that's what concerns me the most, because when I look around and see society, the individual, so to speak, and I'm concerned because they're dumber now than ever. So many people I run into that I talk to don't have a clue. Not this audience. I talk to a lot of you people here. I meet you at the shop and all. Very bright, very concerned. But you meet a lot of people. When I travel around the state and different states, they're just so misinformed. It's scary. They're as dumb as a bunch of rocks. And I'm not a highly educated, formally educated person. I guess maybe that's what saved me. I don't know. Reading to Timothy Leary, what he said. But we're running out of time. The news is coming up. We'll be back after the news. Thank you for listening to All About Cars with Ralph Medeiros.
New Bedford's News Talk Station. New Bedford's News Talk Station. 1420 WBSM. New Bedford. Streaming worldwide on Radio Pop and on WBSM.com.
From ABC News, I'm Scott Goldberg. The lines have been really long in Rio, and the Olympic Organizing Committee is apologizing to fans who got stuck at security checkpoints this morning. ABC's Jim Ryan is there.
Going into these games, Brazilian authorities were responding to threats of potential terror attacks. Caleb Weir has come to see his sister Amanda compete in swimming and says he isn't worried.
The security seems fine. There's lots of, you can't walk 10 feet without seeing an armed guard of some sort.
Officials have said they're bringing in extra people to staff security checkpoints and reduce the wait times. Jim Ryan, ABC News at the Summer Games in Rio.
First gold medal of the Games went to American shooter Ginny Thrasher. In Normandy, France, there's been another tragedy in the same city where a priest was killed in a terror attack last week.
A devastating fire during a birthday party at a bar in the northern French city of Rouen has killed over a dozen people and injured 6. Candles on a birthday cake are believed to have ignited the flames. An investigation is now underway, but France's Interior Minister was quick to announce that terrorism has been ruled out. Rouen has been on edge after the murder of a Catholic priest by ISIS sympathizers last week. Jennifer Eccleston at the ABC News Foreign Desk in London.
In New Jersey, authorities now say 42 people were injured last night at a rap concert in Camden. A railing collapsed at the BB&T Pavilion where Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa were performing. Only one injury described as serious. Later today in Chicago, demonstrators say they'll be out again protesting the police killing of 18-year-old Paul O'Neill, shot in the back after police say he hit their vehicle in a stolen car. Video of the incident was made public yesterday but did not include the fatal shot.
Many people who live here don't understand how all of the other cameras that were there the evening of this incident were able to capture what happened, but the actual shooting is not on tape. Now, Chicago police investigators here say they are looking into why that particular camera did not record the actual critical moment of the shooting.
It's ABC's Alex Perez in Chicago. You're listening to ABC News.
ADT presents What to Consider When Considering Home Security. An ADT sign is more than a sign. It's a line in the sand. On one side, your family. On the other, an uncertain world.
For over 140 years, more people have chosen ADT to help prevent crime than anyone else. Get ADT starting at just $28.99 a month.
Tested, trusted, proven ADT.
With 36-month contract for licensing and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
There's a reason why so many celebrities use Proactiv. Their faces are their money. And it's time for you to get it because Proactiv has set up a special 800 number. For just $19.95, you'll get Proactiv and a rotating deep cleansing brush. A $45 value, yours free. For only $19.95, you're guaranteed to get clear and stay clear or your money back. Here's the number, 1-800-644-5944. Call now for a lifetime of beautiful skin. 1-800-644-5944.
The search continues this weekend in Phoenix for a serial killer who police say is responsible for 9 shootings that have left 7 people dead. This witness to one of the shootings says he came outside when he heard gunshots and he saw
a black BMW he was speeding and he just saw us.
Nobody was hurt in that incident. A man who used to be one of the top law enforcement officers in the U.S. has now been indicted.
After former L.A. County Sheriff Lee Baca withdrew a guilty plea this week, now a federal grand jury has indicted Baca for conspiring to obstruct justice and lying to the FBI about corruption inside the L.A. County jail system. It's part of a case that has seen 20 current or former members of the Sheriff's Department convicted. Baca, who is 74 years old, could be looking at 20 years in prison if he's found guilty. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Police in Houston have nabbed a couple of guys they say were behind some recent car hackings. They're accused of using pirated computer software to steal more than 100 vehicles, mostly Jeeps and Dodges, which have high resale values on the black market. Police in West Springfield, Massachusetts, removed a 6-foot alligator named Wally from the backyard where Wally had been living for 25 years as someone's pet. Jim Maroli is a friend of the owner and says Wally would never hurt anyone.
It didn't actually hunt either. It was hand-fed, so it had no nature to kill everything.
Wally has a new home at the Springfield Zoo. This is ABC News.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. With a call to National Tax Helpline, you can stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Take down the number now for the Tax Helpline, 800-708-4718. That's 800-708-4718 for free information. 800-708-4718.
Scott Goldberg, ABC News.
I'm Jim Phillips, WBSM News. There are attractions going on this weekend in both New Bedford's North End and the South End. Thousands of people expected to attend the Feast of the Blessed Sacrament in the North End. Smaller but still enthusiastic crowds expected at the Buzzards Bay 420 Championships being held in waters off Fort Taber. Some 400 young sailors taking part in the competition through Sunday. More than 6,000 riders ranging in age from 13 to 84 taking part in the Pan Mass Challenge to benefit the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Organizers hope to raise at least $46 million this weekend. And the Red Sox take on the Dodgers again this afternoon on the West Coast. WBSM has the action beginning at 3:20 with the pregame show. Forecast: scattered thunderstorms developing this afternoon, and a few storms may be severe. Tonight, a few clouds, low 62. I'm Jim Phillips.
New Bedford's newest waterfront restaurant is the Edge Seafood and Lounge, where executive chef Marcos has patrons raving about his creative new menu, sushi bar, and yummy martinis. Chef Marcos is delighted to take any of your personal culinary requests. The Edge has become one of my highest recommended restaurants for good food, good drinks, good friends, and good times. The Edge Seafood and Lounge, where happiness is homemade, 1480 East Rodney French Boulevard on the beautiful waterfront in New Bedford.
New Bedford's news talk station, 1420 WBSM. Saturdays at 2, WBSM Talks Money. Money Matters with Jose Matos. Call in to find out if you're saving enough for retirement and how to get yourself on the right track. Jose's the money man with your money plan. From Advanced Financial Group, Money Matters can change your quality of life after you retire. But it all starts now. Saturdays at 3 on 1420 WBSM.
Mattapoisett Power Equipment proudly features Massport mowers with steel or aluminum decks, all powered by Briggs & Stratton engines. Massport mowers are winners of Reader's Digest Most Trusted Brand. Mattapoisett Power Equipment also carries Troy-built mowers, along with Dolmar chainsaws and weed trimmers. Ask about renting a power washer for cleanups. Visit Mattapoisett Power Equipment for sales, service, parts, and rentals. 3 Church Street Extension, Mattapoisett. Call 508-758-7977.
New Bedford's homepage, WBSM.com.
Okay, we're back with All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center. We're located at 867 Church Street in the north end of New Bedford, just off of Route 140, exit 5. Put you on Church Street, not a traffic light or a stop sign. You can get down to it. There we do extensive auto repairs at very, very competitive prices. We do a lot of restorative maintenance. If you're having a problem with your car, we can help you out and keep you patched up, so to speak. We just don't spend all your money. And when we do what's necessary, and if parts are good around whatever we're fixing, we leave them be if there's still life to them. We don't just extensively go in and replace all kinds of things that jack your bill up. So you should check us out. We do earnestly try to save people money. We work with a lot of people. If you're having a hard time or a fixed budget, a lot of people retired, they're just getting by. I mean, there's some real issues out there, and a car is it's a necessity. Get groceries, and we don't have the greatest we have no subways, and we do have buses, but transportation system is somewhat lacking in America because we're fighting all these wars everywhere else. We're not building trains or subways or improving our infrastructure at the rate we should be, and it's obviously apparent when you drive around. That's another story, but we do work in trying to keep you patched up and keep your car on the road, and at a reasonable cost. And plus, we sell quality used automobiles priced from $4 to $15, most of them, and we do sell cars costing considerably more for people who want them. And SUVs and trucks we stock up to $20. So check us out. We have some great values. We try to sell clean, low mileage cars, and these cars are serviced out, and we put money in them before we take your money. A lot of places just want to take your money and put as little money into the car that you're buying. We kind of operate a little differently. We do put money in these cars, make sure that they're safe, sound, everything's pretty much working in good shape, irrespective of the year of the car and the mileage. And most all our cars come on a 90-day warranty, which in most cases all we have to do is put 30 days. By the way, you just listened to Valadia Snup is her name. She's a good-looking black lady here who lived, as I would say, a good-looking black chick. And she was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And she had an interesting experience in life. Reading it through here, talking about how she played the trumpet, and she was called Little Louis after Louis Armstrong. So this gal was very talented, to say the least. She became exceptionally successful in the 30s, and she toured all over the world, and in China, Europe, and she had a very bad experience while touring in Europe. And through Denmark in 1941, she was arrested by the Nazis and kept in one of their prison camps, a Danish prison camp outside of Copenhagen, and it was run by the Nazis, so they obviously were running the countries and keeping track of anybody comes in and out, your papers please, so to speak. And she was released under a prisoner exchange program in 42, so she spent 2 years, which really traumatized her. According to the jazz historians, when you read into her life, she never recovered emotionally from the experience. So, and she was basically a prisoner of war, okay, and held by the Nazis. Bad enough to be held by the Nazis, but to be a black woman held by the Nazis. And the Germans went to, the Nazis went to accommodating for people of Jewish extraction or black folk, or anybody who went against their political views. In plain English, they didn't. I guess they. If you weren't with them, you were against them. You were in one of their prison camps. There was very little political tolerance, so to speak. Well, give us a call here, 9960500, 9960500. We can talk about whatever's on your mind. Some articles here. Faulty door latches prompt Ford to recall 830,000 vehicles. Washington Ford Motor Company is recalling 830,000 cars in the U.S. and Mexico that have doors that can swing open while the vehicles are in motion. Boy, I've experienced that in the past. That's not a fun thing, especially when it's unexpected. The Dearborn-based company said the recall notice that a spring tab in the side door latches of the affected vehicles could break, creating the possibility of doors swinging open during motion. The company said the recall affects 828,000 cars in North American markets. The condition typically will prevent the door from latching. The company said in certain situations where the door is able to be closed, the door may unlatch while driving increasing the risk of injury. Well, that's for sure, especially if you don't have your seatbelt on. I never forget, long-time listeners may recall this, but years ago when I was a little kid and I was riding in my dad's 50 Ford, we were coming down Grape Street along Rule Cemetery, and he made a left to turn onto Duval Street where we lived, for those folks, those of you who know the area. And my brother was sitting near the door, and I was sitting in the middle, and the door swung open. My brother fell out. My father started, "What the hell did you do?" He thought I opened the door. Man, he gave me a hard way to go. And I said, "I didn't touch the door. I didn't touch the door." Well, Fords were notorious back then for latch problems. I guess maybe it's the great-grandson of the engineer who designed the first one who's still working at the company. I don't know. But I never forgot that. My dad, God, this is a long time ago, folks. And my brother Mark, who's a year younger than me, the door opened, boom, he rolled out the car. The cars didn't have seatbelts in them days. And my father looked over, he saw the door open, the kid was gone, my brother, my younger brother. He said to me, "What the hell did you do? You opened that door on your brother?" I said, "Well, no, I got along with my brother. We fought sometimes like cats and dogs, but I loved him enough not to open a door on a kid, so." But I never forgot that. And here we are now talking about Ford door latches, okay? Ford said the recall affects 2013 through 15 Ford C-Max, 2013 through 15 Ford Escape, which is a little SUV, 2012 through 15 Ford Focus, 2015 Mustang and Lincoln MKCs, 2014 and 16 models, Ford Transit vehicles that were built in Michigan, Kentucky, and Spain. The company said 766,000 of the recalled vehicles are in these United States, while 61,000 are in Mexico. Ford said one accident and one injury have been reported that could be related to the door problem that led to the recall. By the way, my brother wasn't hurt. He was tough. He did roll a lot, though. I saw him. The company said the repairs will focus. The company said the repairs will focus on Alabama, Arkansas, Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, Nevada, Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, Oregon, Washington, because the door problems have been linked to warmer temperatures. Well, I think if you have one of those door latches and I was up in Newfoundland in Canada, I'd still want it replaced. And it's been warm around here anyway. I mean, we do have summer. Ford said dealers will replace the side door latches for free, and will launch a corresponding customer satisfaction program for the vehicles outside the scope of this recall. If the vehicle exhibits a broken door latch, Ford will provide a one-time replacement at no charge for the life of the vehicle, Ford said. Let me read that again. If a vehicle exhibits a broken door latch, Ford will provide a one-time replacement at no charge for the life of the vehicle, Ford said. Well, if it's a defective latch, I would hope so, even if it's not in the scope of the recall. The automaker said the recall will cost $270 million, according to a filing with the Department of Transportation. So there you have it. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hey, good afternoon, Ralph.
Hey, how are you?
I can't complain.
Good for you.
Well, yes, I can, but you know how it is.
Don't
I
complain.
think you did a really nice job describing our war situation.
Oh, thank you.
You know,
well, we haven't benefited, have we?
No, we haven't, of course.
No,
the average person has not.
No, the average working, if you're in the New Bedford area, you join the military because you're looking for economic opportunities. If you're in Appalachia and you go down to the coal mines with your father and you go, wow, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work in a coal mine like he's working. And what do you join? The Marine Corps.
And you end up becoming cannon fodder for the war machine.
Absolutely. Now, we need military. I mean, we have to protect our interests. But I think we've been the aggressors in many cases. And what do we have to show for it besides a VA that's overcrowded?
Yeah, a VA that's overcrowded.
And I'm a law and order kind of guy. I mean, but I think we've been. I don't know.
Well, I look back to Vietnam, for example. I remember the fall of Saigon and helicopters, seeing it on the news, helicopters landing on the aircraft carriers, and they didn't even have time to refuel them. They just pushed them overboard.
Yeah, that's right.
And when I saw that, the thought I came up with all those years ago, you know what? Somebody's got to pay for that helicopter that's for the moment floating on the ocean, but will be sinking shortly.
Yeah, we've paid hundreds of billions of dollars.
Oh, absolutely. I think I'd go into the trillions.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. No, it is trillions.
Plus
you're
the
right.
debt on the money that we never paid for all
Right.
of that.
Right. Wow.
So, to me, it was just ridiculous. Then Iraq, there was no justification for us going into Iraq except they used fear on us. Two things they used on us. First was fear. Well, he has weapons of mass destruction. It's going to be too late when we see the mushroom cloud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in reality, he was no threat to
Weapons of mass destruction.
Say again, please.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Well, one of the things bothered me when they showed in the hearings and all that there was this weapons of mass destruction trailer. You may or may not recall that. They showed it, and there was what was his name? Colin Powell, and matter of fact, he testified to that. He said to one of his subordinates, "I better not be wrong on this."
Yeah, he took the fall for them.
He took the fall for them, and I'm a chemist. I said, you would not build those labs in trailers. Because you're talking about things that are so deadly. You would put them underground with multiple layers of filtration. You would not put them on a trailer.
No, we haven't. We have an empire, but the masses have not benefited from this empire. Now, certain people have. They've gotten very rich. I mean, and I'm not picking on her when I say this. Like Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. She went around to a lot of these nations in the Middle East and gave.
You won't have me disagreeing with you.
But her Billy started going on a stump again, speaking and getting paid $1 million speeches or $500,000 speeches, and all the money poured into their foundation.
We have not
foreign
had
interests.
In a long time anybody working in our interest.
No, you're right. And I mean, the guy that comes out espousing it, Trump, I'm troubled with.
I speak my mind. I don't care. That's one of the advantages of getting older.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You notice I didn't say old.
No, you're right. No, you get to the point. You're
so
disgusted.
what are you going to do to me?
Right. Well, careful. They can throw us.
Well,
they do have FEMA camps they're organizing. They have FEMA camps, my friend.
I've heard that story. I have a problem with that.
Well, okay.
That's my opinion.
That's why was the government buying hundreds of millions of rounds?
But you know what's interesting? If you remember a little bit back, some of the names of people that got us involved in Iraq. One, for example, Paul Wolfowitz.
Yeah.
Where did he go after that?
He was with the World Bank.
He was became the president of the World Bank.
And then he had to leave
what
there.
A coincidence.
Well, yeah, and then he had to get out of there, resign because he had a liaison there with a young lady.
You mean that happens?
Yeah, it does. I mean,
you know that.
Yeah, I mean, she took advantage of him, I guess. Let's blame her.
Yeah, but what we did a good job of in the Middle East is destabilizing it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
We stuck our nose in it. Yeah, I know they were thugs. But, those thugs kept control of their countries. They weren't really countries to begin with. A lot of them ended up being created states, as the British and others stuck our noses in there.
Well, yes, the British did rearrange it when they had their empire going.
Right.
Although the British people, I think, did benefit a little more from their empire than we did from ours.
Yeah.
Or are benefiting now. But see, think about this now. You mentioned about how we've destabilized and created destabilized their countries and carnage and all this and the bombings. But that could be the method to our madness. It's because we're so unstable ourselves that if we keep the rest of the world off the edge, so to speak, we can continue to stay in power.
Well, one of the interesting thoughts I had, when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union collapsed, there was no longer a justification for our huge military spending. And in fact, there was no justification even then, because the Soviet Union was nowhere near as powerful as it was portrayed.
That isn't what we were told.
Yeah, you notice that. Oh, they may have had a lot of planes and submarines and all that, but they were vastly inferior to ours.
Well, I wouldn't say they were inferior. In some areas they were, but they were a powerful force. I mean, they had a submarine fleet that was right up there, and they didn't have aircraft carriers, but they certainly had good submarines. They had a real aggressive, tough army. I mean, the Red Army did beat back the Nazis, and that, if it wasn't for them,
but one of the advantages they had was cold Soviet winter. It really beat up on the Germans. But the reality in the submarine force, the submarines, they had a lot of them, but they were in fact inferior to ours.
Well,
and in fact, one time to send the Russians a message, every American submarine that was tracking a Russian submarine pinged the submarine at exactly the same time. In other words, they sent a sonar ping just to let the Russians know we're watching you.
Well, yeah, it was a tit for tat.
Yeah, but now we don't have the money. I do a fair amount of driving. I'm sure you do. Our infrastructure, I don't care where you go, our infrastructure is a mess.
Yeah, it is.
On many roads, you can't go 15 feet without hitting a crack, a hole, a bump, a repair, which is temporary because they're never getting to finish the job. You can't travel without being diverted because they try to fix these things, and it's so bad that we almost need to shut down all our roads at once and repair them. We can't do that.
I know that, but I mean, revenues are tight. The cost of labor and materials going up. The use of gasoline is going down. So I mean, we're gonna have to fund this expansion. I mean, nothing comes for nothing. I'd rather put our resources, there than all these transfer payments and supporting people who come here illegally. I have issues. If they come here to work, that's one thing.
But I'm also of the strong belief that our economy is phony.
Well, there's a lot of illusion there, yeah.
Are people making money? Yes, I won't argue that. But it's an economy that's propped up.
Well, it is. It is. We're in a very precarious position, and it's not really being discussed. The only maybe he's a savant in some ways, but Trump did mention how unstable it is right now, and he's fearful for the next president, no matter who it may be. You can pull those recordings, and then he got really hammered down by that, and he didn't bring it up since. But it was interesting comments. You hear threads of truth. Now he does say things, off the cuff, but there is some truth that comes out of him. That
I won't argue with you.
Now he does say some things that you say to yourself. If I was there and as much money as he has, I kind of like, hey guy, shake him. What the hell's wrong with you? I'm a street guy from New Bedford, and I have a little more diplomacy than you. Come on, what's wrong here?
Is it kind of a thing that when you get a guy like Trump, very rich and all that, and you could say about other ones, they are so insulated that in many respects they don't really know what's going on?
Oh, he's blinded by his own hubris and ego.
I've never seen anybody as arrogant as him.
Yeah, and his own. So I mean, it's an issue. Hey, it's one of being human, I guess.
But I'll just close with this idea. We saw several years ago the mortgage crisis. I, for one, don't believe anything's been fixed.
No, did you read the paper Wednesday? Was it with mortgage foreclosures in Massachusetts?
Yeah, we're going to go there again.
Yeah, we're up significantly. The wealth. I mean, people are. Listen, I prosper if the community prospers. I'm having a hard time prospering because my customers aren't prospering, so it doesn't allow me to prosper. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's almost like an environmental. You pour a quart of oil in a marsh, the marsh gets sick.
Yeah.
So if my customers are struggling, I'm struggling. I mean, so this is what concerns me. So I think we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And we really have to. And if you're on the left, you're on the right. That's fine. I really don't care. But we have to kind of find a path here and get into all this dogma and the left and the right, because the left can be vicious, the right can be vicious. And,
but when I say about the economy, and it's a phony economy, economy should be you sell me something, you make money on it, I buy it because I need it. In other words, a real economy. Yep. At the highest levels, they're playing games with the money.
Oh my God, it's It's crazy. I mean, look what they've done to mostly people in our age group, people who've worked all their lives,
Right.
busted their humps, saved their money. Oh, save your money, play by the rules, put it in a bank. It's FDIC insured. They're
Right.
paying you nothing for your money. And they're printing money, they're debasing our currency, your money's worth less, and then they're going to tax you on the measly interest you've
Ralph,
got.
I'll tell you something. I am so bitter by that.
Well, we're getting...
Because I worked hard, I played by the rules,
Right.
and I don't mean only me, but there's many others, have been cheated.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, brother.
Yeah. And then I hear this week from the Fed, they're talking about, well, maybe the interest rates won't go up unless inflation goes up.
That's the
Well,
biggest...
that's phony, too.
Oh, phony. It's the biggest... It's like the Grand Wizard lying. They're lying to us. Their teeth, if their lips are moving, they're lying to us.
Well, they're already talking about, I know I'm going on and on, forgive me. In England, the Bank of England is going to be lowering interest rates.
They did.
They did it already.
Yeah, because their pound is down to $1.32 from $1.46 before Brexit. So they think of this. Think if you're an Englishman and you had 100,000 pounds in the bank,
right,
which would be about 100. Well, as of before the vote, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, before the vote, a month ago. I think I was in Russia when they approved it. But if you had 100, well, let's say 100,000 pounds would be, well, that'd be over 200 grand because a pound was $1. Well, no, excuse me, it would be about 145,000 American because it was $1.45 to the pound. Well, now the pound is $1.32. So now you got 132,000. So you took a major hit. Let's say you wanted to immigrate to the United States or buy U.S. securities. See what happens in the game?
Oh, yeah.
See what happens in
and
the
it
game?
used to be with the argument is, in terms of putting your money in the bank, that was the means by which the banks lend to businesses and home buyers, and the economy was working.
I think if you have
we
money...
got a little bit of a cut on the action because they were using our money.
Right. Well, now, I'd be nervous putting my money in a major bank because if there's a major bank failure, there's going to be a bail-in, not a bailout. They're going to take your money and make you a stockholder of the bank, and like they did in Cyprus, it was a good test for the EU.
They've already talked in some places, have already done it, negative interest rate.
Yeah, Europe is dealing with it. It's a disaster. But see, the federal government can't afford to pay a higher rate of interest because if the rates go up on the bonds they have, the Treasury notes, they can't afford to pay it. So the rates are low because Uncle Sam can't afford to pay a 3, 4, 5, 6% bond rate and pay you a higher return. They can't pay it. They're already paying out hundreds of billions every year in interest at the rates as rock bottom as that because they're up to the country is broke. They're going to come after you and me for whatever you got left.
Except for the paperwork, we are bankrupt.
Well, yes, because we're running a trade deficit of $500 billion a year, 45 billion a month with China alone. You can't continually be taking IOUs. Sooner or later, people are going to want their money. That's why the Chinese are coming here and buying assets. They're getting out of their bond position and buying hard assets. So
which I have a real problem with. It's one thing to trade, but when you buy assets in somebody else's country, I just kind of have a problem with that.
Well, I know, but we've been doing it. We did it.
Yeah, we've done it too.
And the British did it to us when we were debtors to them, so they came in and bought big parts of our railroads. But that's the way to life.
With this idea, you've heard the term derivative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That the total of all the derivatives out there right now is more than the sum of all the economies of the world.
Yeah, it's in the hundreds of trillions.
This is crazy.
I know. Well, they bet on it. It's all a big casino.
It's all a big bet, yeah.
It's a casino, and they're betting, and we, the little people, are getting screwed because we don't have honest money. Now, if we go to a more gold-backed or silver-backed belt gold, combination of hard metals, it would contract the economy quite a bit because they can't inflate. See, they can't inflate, and they get the use of the money first before it comes down to our level. When it comes down to our level, you and me, I'm raising prices because the money is so prevalent. When they get the money first, they can go out and buy assets and buy more assets because the money just hit their doorstep first before it hits us. Mm-hmm. So it's a big game, and of course we're the losers, though. Yeah. And listen, this is nothing new. This has gone on millennia ago. Okay, Rome went through this, and here we are. And
there's no guarantee we won't fall.
I wish. I'm fearful that we're going to have a major reset. I think I'd say to you and others out there, enjoy the decline.
Well, you know,
I hate to be pessimistic, but just
you say, if I'm quoting you right, we're dumb as a rock.
a lot. Well, not you or
No, I
the
mean
listeners,
generic.
but I mean a lot of people out there are. They couldn't find Alberta on the map if you had 1,000, $10 $100 bills and said, hey, you should point out Alberta on the map. They couldn't find it for $1,000 cash right now. The majority of Americans couldn't find it. Alberta. I'm not saying, I'm not saying Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
I'm not saying something more difficult or Mongolia. Show me it on the map. I mean, most the average American couldn't find it.
Some people don't know who the vice president is.
No, they don't. But they can tell you who's on the football, baseball team, or the Pawn Star is, or the newest tattoo, or what's the new movie, or Snoop Dogg. Or, our culture is, listen, we're reaping what we've sown.
Well, the other day it was funny. I was at Battleship Cove at around noontime, and there was quite a few people outside. Of all the people I saw, how many were not on a cell phone? One.
Yeah, well.
We're infinite. I've been saying this for years. We're infinitely connected, but totally unaware.
Yeah, no, it's you're right. As the technology is much smarter, we've come down. We're much dumber. And you see, you're an educator. I'm not telling you nothing.
Well, I'll tell you something, Ralph. I did it for a long time, and I cared about the kids.
I'm sure you did. I can
But
tell.
I know one thing in my latter years of teaching. I walked away bitter. Why? Because when I tried to enforce fair standards, but with ample support for the kids to do well, Ralph, all I took was grief.
Yeah, you weren't given the support from the administration.
I was warned and,
Yeah.
make everything, what it comes down to, Ralph? Make everything look good.
Yeah. Well, that's listen. So now you see the problem.
Yeah.
I got to let you go.
And the amount of money we've spent on it, we should be ashamed.
What? Listen, you and I have more in common than you can possibly imagine. Comrade.
That's scary. Take care, comrade.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I have to say this. We have more in common. A very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, Jay, how are you? That was interesting.
I'll tell you a story that's even worse than our economy.
You mean worser, as we say?
Worse. Yeah, much worse. In Portugal.
Oh yeah, Portugal's in trouble. What the hell? This is
a major bank failed.
Yeah.
Because the directors of the bank made bad investments, bad loans, bad everything. So the bank went under. Okay. So this new bank immediately buys it up. So the depositors want to know, hey, what happened to the insurance that covers our deposits? Well, the old bank didn't have it because they were too busy spending the money on everything else. The new bank says, sorry, we're not responsible for the old deposits.
Unless it's the Portuguese government or the EU has some backing because they do deal in euros, so they might have a similar structure.
And the Portuguese government holds hearings.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They throw the guys from the old bank in jail, and they agree with the new bank.
Well, yeah.
They're responsible for 20 cents on the dollar.
Well, yeah, because the Portuguese country, they're in deficit. They got major problems there, too.
So if you had $100,000 in the old bank, you're going to get a whopping $20,000 back.
Yeah, well, it's called
boy!
It's called a bail-in, my friend.
And people put up with this. You know that how many people the unintended consequences of this is?
What's that?
People have lost their houses. They couldn't pay their mortgages.
Well, yeah. Listen, the little people always pay the price. I mean,
and it's like a chain reaction. And the government just shrugged its shoulders and walked away. The finance minister said, we've held hearings. We've determined that the new bank will be responsible for 20% of the old deposits.
Well, yeah. So you took an 80%. You took a haircut.
Yeah, an 80% hit.
But we bailed out the big banks here, the Goldman Sachs and the Morgan Stanleys and AIG. We the people, we saved their asses, and now they didn't take the haircut. See, it's capitalism. They reap the rewards of their efforts, and if they're going to reap the negative aspects of poor management.
And there's been a investigation by the European Parliament.
Well, the EU and
apparently-
the EU and ECB, yeah.
Apparently, the government knew all along that the old bank was having problems with its officers and officials and never did anything about it.
Well, everybody's running for cover. You know, at the cocktail parties, they buy tickets and do exchanges, and, you know, it's the way the game's played, my friend.
You know, it's really a shame because the people who end up paying are the small depositors.
Yeah, it hasn't changed since Jesus Christ walked the earth, right?
Yeah.
And before him. I mean, this is unfortunately the way the game's played. So, you know, I mean, it's you know what it requires is you and I as individuals have to be better informed, hold our public servants, you know, hold them for their actions and be informed. I mean, a lot of these people come in here like gods and goddesses, and they trot in, trot out. We're not aware of what they vote, how they vote, in our interest against our interest. They tell us they're in our interest. They tell us they're going to put more programs. In other words, they're going to give you something. They have to take it from me to give to you. So, you know, sooner or later, it's like I said, I think last week, it's like coming home and finding out you get your wife, you know, you get a letter from the sheriff saying you owe $80,000 in credit card bills, and you say, holy Moses, I got to pay this. So you tell your wife who put you in a hole, or the vice versa, your husband put you in a hole, doesn't matter. Hey, we can't go out to eat. We can't go on that vacation. We got to cut back. We got to live in our means, and we haven't done that yet. We're inflating it. I mean, we all complain about Bush. In my mind, Bush was one of the worst presidents we've had in modern times.
Which one, the older one or the younger one?
The younger one.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't enamored with the first one, but I you know, I don't think he did as much damage to us. He didn't really help as much. None of them do. It's a rigged game. The second time around with the second Bush Jr. there was a disaster. All right, I mean, and it wasn't just we blame Bush, but it's this whole team. Cheney incorporated all these neocons and all these wars. I mean, people profited. You and I didn't profit, and neither did the young men and women go there to fight. For what? I mean, Iraq is a disaster. Afghanistan's a disaster. We got more heroin now in this country at cheaper prices, and it's coming out of Afghanistan. And you say to yourself, $2 trillion? We put more Agent Orange in Vietnam and defoliated and had more miscarriages because of the woman we sprayed it on. I mean, we did a disaster to those people. We killed 1 million Vietnamese. It's amazing they even let us go to the country on a visa. And they did beat us in the end. We had to leave. Okay.
You know,
but
it's going to happen, but there's going to be a worldwide depression.
Yeah, we're going. You know where it's going to be. You know, one of the biggest reasons because we're the biggest debtor in the world by far. The world has never seen a country as up to its ass in debt as these United States of America.
Yeah.
And they're trying to inflate their way out of it. So whatever money you've worked your butt off to put in the bank is being debased. Debased because they're printing more of it. Most people can't understand this because they don't take the time to learn about it and read about it. They're more interested in watching the latest movie or whatever.
People don't want to understand it.
Well, shame on them because their freedom isn't free and they're going to be more enslaved to this debt system. And they're going to be. You think it's tough now? You have no idea how tough it's going to be.
Right.
You think you're poor now or getting poorer? You have no idea what it's going to be like. Okay. And that's why the government's buying guns and bullets like there's no tomorrow. Not to go fight a war. It's to protect their own interests against us.
Right.
Okay? And that's why FEMA has plans. And look at the presidential orders that they can come in and take your food, take your guns, take your fuel, whatever you've put away, stockpiled. I mean, we're in serious business here. And that's why they're trying to disarm us. Okay? One of the bastions, and the forefathers understood this. What did the British do when they went up to Lexington and Bunker Hill? What were they going there for?
They were going to pick up, when they went to Lexington and Concord, they were going to get the guns.
That's right. They went there for the guns.
Yep.
Okay. Why? They didn't want you to fight back.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
They understood very clearly. Okay. So, and that's what's kept some of our enemies at bay. Now, it's unfortunately, I'm not. Listen, I'm not an anarchist. Okay, I'm not a revolutionary. But I do know to protect our republic, we have to be involved. And actually, when you look at history, it's only been the 3% who've made the change. But you know what? I mean, just do the best you can and pray, and we have to have more respect amongst ourselves, and
I think
and more respect and love and cooperation among ourselves, and less division, and can't let them divide us. And I mean, war is.
And you know something, I think it's gone beyond the point of coming back.
Well, no, there's always, listen, we can always save it. It won't, listen, it's kind of like, you know, why do you have a fever when you're sick? Why does your body raise the temperature? To kill the bacteria in you, so
Right.
it doesn't kill you. This is why you have a fever. When you suppress the fever, the bacteria can still grow. Right?
Right.
I'm not a doctor, by the way. Okay? I'm an MD, a motor doctor. I'm not a physician. But normally when you suppress fevers, you're kind of prolonging your condition. When you have a fever and you sweat your butt off in bed and you got the chills and it's not very comfortable, it's not very pleasant to say the least. But when you go through it and it doesn't kill you, and you wake up the next morning and you feel better because the fever is broken and the bacteria, the infection, whatever's trying to kill you has been abated. And guess what? You're coming back. The sun comes out. You can hear the birds sing. You're coming back again, and you rebuild and build your immune system. And we have got to go through that process, okay? It's not going to be pleasant. Hey,
No,
I'm just a
it's
regular
not.
guy from New Bedford, and you're just, I don't know. All I know is I'm tired of the BS, the nonsense, the lies, the misinformation, the propaganda from both sides. Both sides.
Yeah.
And you know, we're not getting a straight message here. A lot of people don't, you know, what is the straight message? You know, what's straight to me is crooked to you. I mean, what are we going to do? Well, my friend, comrade, thank you for the call.
Have a good one.
Okay. I got to get a drink. Bloody Mary. Here we go. I'm kidding. This goes out to all my comrades out there.
Sus
Okay, great stuff, huh? The Red Army Choir. I feel the power in the music. It's actually, they have it on CD if you want it, or you can stream it online as well. It's great stuff to listen to. It really is. It's you feel the power and the energy in the music. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Good afternoon, Ralph. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you.
Hello.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I had to chime in when you're talking about FEMA.
Oh, FEMA.
You know who started FEMA?
Who started FEMA?
Zbigniew Brzezinski.
Oh, okay.
And it was Executive Order 12148, signed into existence by Jimmy Carter in 1979.
I was just going to say that had to be Carter.
Same Trilateral Commission boys that had the first president, Jimmy Carter, and Zbigniew Brzezinski and the Rockefellers started it.
Really?
It's not just flood and mud, FEMA.
Well, no, they have camps set up.
That's
They've got,
right, detention camp.
They're gonna figure there'll be food shortages. They're gonna bait you in there. And they're gonna feed you. And then they're gonna see who there is like. I have a friend of mine who's pretty high up in the military, and pretty high ranking actually, quite high ranking. Their commission had to be voted in by Congress, his commission. And
some of these people, if they want to eat, that's where they go and they never come back. Some of them are at Fort Benning, Georgia.
Thousands, millions of people be going there. But I told him, I said, when you see my name on the FEMA list, try to get me out. He starts laughing. But I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
Oakdale, California. Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. Vandenberg, AFB, California. Fort Chaffee, Arkansas.
Well, we're in District 1.
Fort Drum Military Reservation, New York.
Yeah, we're FEMA Region 1.
Yeah.
I don't want to be dark about this stuff, but just
be
informed.
Reality.
Be informed about it. And that's why you should learn to grow food, be self-sufficient. You know, Americans, the bottom line is this: we have to be more responsible. You know, we need less government, more responsibility. And God's help, a better world, and that's what it takes, my friend.
Well, I really believe that all the prophecy that's in the Bible is coming true.
Well, it seems to be shaping up that way, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So.
And in order for it to happen, you got to have an antichrist and all these world leaders the way it is, the dictatorship and whatnot.
Yeah.
I have a book that I read for years. It's called The World's Last Dictator by Dwight L. Kinman. It's got all this stuff in it.
Huh. Yeah, there's some interesting reading out there that you can.
Well,
you have to drill down. You have to educate yourself. I'm glad you have. I got to let you go. We're running out of time. I got callers lighting up the board.
You got a great show. I keep listening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for calling me. Okay, we're going to take this next caller on the order. We've got it. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hi, Ralph. How are you?
I'm well. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yep.
I enjoy your program. Always listen. I don't call that often, but you sparked my interest when you were talking about the large banks.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Over the years, I've just taken any monies that I have out of the large banks, and I deal with the credit unions. Do you feel that's safer?
Yes, I do.
You do?
I do. Matter of fact, you can look up. There's certain websites that'll tell you what banks have a higher exposure to derivatives, and you just have to avoid those banks so that when the crap hits the fan, they'll go down like paper tigers. And if it comes to that, so you try to avoid those, and most of the credit unions and locally chartered organizations like the credit unions in New Bedford. We got some great organizations. New Bedford Credit Union, Southern Mass. There's some others, but there's some here that are bedrock of our community and deserve our support.
Yeah. So you really feel that your money's safer there?
Yeah, as far as paper currency goes, yes. I mean, it's a fiat currency, so don't forget. I mean, you might have 10,000 in a bank, but if they print another 100,000 against your 10, what's your 10 worth?
Yeah.
Think of it that way. You know, so
pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. So right. I mean, listen. Look at history. Look at the Weimar Republic, which brought Hitler into power. In the 20s, with war reparations they had to pay for World War I, they started printing money. The Weimar Republic. And Hitler is the one who gained traction with the people, promising them jobs and opportunity because they were getting poorer by the month. And by the day, when they started printing money, was going out. That's why the Germans are so fickle about inflation in their currency. The Germans today, even to this day, because they knew what happened. It brought in Hitler.
What else can you do to store your money safely besides credit unions?
You can buy assets that are harder to inflate. And you try to get into assets that they can't tax your ass away, like properties and stuff like that, at least in certain communities. So you avoid communities that have super high taxes. And you'd also move into some foreign assets. Listen, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't pretend to be.
Yep.
And my life is vested in this city, in my business. So,
yeah.
But if you're going to invest, you might want to buy some foreign securities, Swiss-based securities. The Swiss have fairly honest money. Different currencies like that. I mean, the gravity is moving to Asia. Asia's going to where the money's going to be. Where the money's going to be is where the money's at. And
but would you put any of your money into Asia?
Well, yeah, you could buy some funds over there that are that invest. You got to go with knowledgeable people, though. So
Interesting.
You got to go with knowledgeable people. If you look at where a lot smarter than me, a lot of these people. What's his name? Jim Rogers. Look up Jim Rogers, if I'm saying it right. Jim Rogers and financial investments.
I see.
Let's review some of his videos. There's others, too. Look up Peter Schiff for a more darker view. Peter Schiff, Chiff.
Okay.
Look him up. You can find him on YouTube. Go to his website. There's numerous others. I'm only scratching the surface here. I mean, if you call me at the office, I can give you some other sites you can go to. But I mean, these are just two guys that just popped in my head right away. But there's many others, many others. By means, those are not the only guys out there.
Okay, I know you're running out of time, but I always enjoy your program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Very good afternoon, caller.
I enjoyed that Russian song so immensely.
I knew you would salute. You must have faced east and saluted. I knew they would get you.
It's an intense value to me.
I knew that. See, I was ringing your chime. I'm playing with you.
To unite us with the United States and get back on track.
Yeah, well, I love listening to the Red Army Choir. I love their music. I think it's great.
You
feel the power in it.
It is beautiful. It is enormous.
Yeah.
It's sentimental.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can do this together.
Yeah. Listen.
Bring us back.
Go to YouTube. Pull up the Red Army Choir. You can listen to it for hours.
You got it, Ralph.
Yeah. So enjoy it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You. Good. Hey, did you there? Oh, I lost you. I told you to check out the China military site. The caller just hung up with me. If you want to read on China, their view of the world in the Chinese eyes, look up the China military, which I just had here. I didn't disconnect them. Where was it? We're running out of time here, so story of my life. Did I get rid of it? I think I did. Anyway, it's China military. The website is english.chinamil.com/cn. Folks, thank you for listening. Listen, I need your support. Please help us out. Come by, refer people to us. We treat people with respect. Your name will be highly regarded. We refer people to us. We treat people with respect. Anyone you send over to us, we'll help out and treat them fair and square. So if you know somebody's having problems with their car, please, by all means, send them by. If you're looking for a car, come and see us. We'll try to help you out as well. Save you money. So look us up. We're on Church Street. Thank you for listening. Catch you next week. God bless. Ralph Medeiros signing off.
New Bedford's News Talk Station. New Bedford's News Talk Station. 1420 WBSM.